Hello friends, I'm Prachi and I'm currently a postgrad student at CPS JNU. I'm doing my masters in political science and Shailendra and other friends have started this quite a nice venture, and I hope this video would be of some help to some of the aspirants. So I'll be talking about how I personally prepared for the entrance exam for masters in pol science 2 years back. So the difference in the scenario is that 2 years back, when I wrote the entrance, the MCQ pattern was just imposed. So basically, earlier we had the subjective pattern of the entrance exam. So we did not really have much of an idea as to what kind of questions would be asked. So we were kind of clueless while preparing. So we kind of read stuff here and there, and we weren't really sure. But now I think the first thing that any aspirant should be doing is to look back at the last 2 years entrance papers so that they can get an idea as to how the questions are asked and what kind of preparation is required for an MCQ type of paper. So what I did was, also secondly, one thing that needs to be kept in mind is that if you have a background in pol science, or that if you did study pol science during your undergrad 3 years, and if you did it like nicely, like not just ignored the course for the 3 years, but if you did focus on it for 3 years, then it is kind of, it's not a difficult thing, I'd say, because since these are MCQs and the preparation would require shorter duration of time and relatively lesser hard work, I'd say. But if you're new to the course, if you're new to the discipline and you're writing the entrance, then that would require quite some time that you would need to put in for the preparation. So first thing that you should be doing is, for political theory, the portion on political theory, the basic books like Rajiv Bhagwal's Introduction to Political Theory, and then there's O.P. Gauba's book. We were specifically told not to read O.P. Gauba during our undergrad because that was particularly not a very academically enriching book, but for the MCQ stuff it's quite helpful because it gives you, it kind of clears your basics and what author has written what book and these sort of questions that are asked usually in MCQs. So it would help there, the 2 books. And when I say that one book needs to be read, it's not like you need to read all the 300 pages. Especially if you've done it in undergrad, then a cursory read, you'll literally need to skim through it all, that you just get an idea because you read it in your 3 years, and you'll get an idea after just skimming through it, not like literally reading page by page the 300 pages of each book that I mentioned, because that will require a lot of time. But since I earlier mentioned while starting the video that if you do not have a background in pol science, then yes, it would require quite some time, because then you might have to go through all the books to get your basics clear. Okay, this is for political theory, the 2 books. Just skim through it all, who has written what are the basics, the different theories of state, for instance. You need to be knowing behavioral school, or the structural functionalist theories, and so on and so on. Then the second thing is Indian politics, and to study the Indian polity, and when it comes to MCQs, then definitely the best. And for the portion on Indian polity, we all might be very familiar with the book by Lakshmikant. UPSC aspirants read it all the time. But for MCQs, I think it's really helpful, and you don't have to literally read the entire Itna Mota book, just some specific chapters, say on parliament or the constitution. Just some of these important topics that you think might come in the exam. Then comes public administration. It is an important topic because especially during MCQ exams, these people tend to ask a lot of questions about a pub ad, and who's written which book, which theory one is associated with. So I personally find pub ad pretty boring, so I did not read any specific book. I googled stuff, just googling things. But pub ad, it's simpler because you can just look at it, look at all of it once, say through ignore notes, and then you'll get to know ki kisne kya likha hai, and then it'll be pretty easier to score marks, because pub ad is this particularly easier section where you can gain all the marks. Then comes IR, International Relations. So the same book that most of us would have done in our undergrad by Bayliss and Smith. So again, you don't have to read the whole book, just some important chapters. I mean, you say you look at the different theories of IR. I specifically remember I read all the theories of IR because I was pretty interested in those even during my bachelor's, but though they did not ask such questions about the theories, but still, to be on the safer side, you do have to do those. And yeah, some other important chapters that you might feel about international political economy, the different the transnational institutions, say WTO, UN and stuff. Then comes Indian political thought. Then again, since I was reading pol science during the 3 years of my undergrad, I was very familiar with the discipline. So I took really short period of time to revise all the stuff because I was a keen reader during those 3 years, so it was not much of a problem. So even when it came to Indian political thought or even Western political thought, I was pretty familiar with those, and I remember not really revising very keenly these sections because I was pretty confident that I was pretty good at those. But the books that we do in DU, for instance, there's this. For instance, what Thomas Pantham on Gandhi and stuff. I mean, you don't really need to read all those in details, and I specifically feel that, for instance, if you Google about some MCQ books that would be helpful in preparing for specifically JNU entrance, there's this one book, I'm kind of forgetting the name, but when you put it in Google and you will get the search, it has kind of a light green shade ka cover, and it provides a good bank of MCQ questions and sort of and for each section, like which I mentioned earlier, they do provide some theory. I mean, in few pages they'll tell you about these thinkers from Plato to Marx, and even these Indian thinkers from Kautilya to later say M.N. Roy or Jayaprakash Narayan. So I mean, you can get it all there. So it's not like you need to be reading all of that stuff, but yes, your basics need to be clear. And that is why I feel that people who have read pol science during the 3 years would definitely have an edge. But that does not mean that those who are interested in the discipline and have not read it earlier might lag behind, but they would definitely need to put in some extra efforts. So I mean, these are a few of the books which I felt would be helpful, and you may cursorily look at those, or if your basics are not clear, then specifically on the areas that you need to work on, you should look at those specifically. So yeah, thank you. I hope the video would be helpful to some of you. Thank you.